Welcome to this fabulous new series of conversations with wonderful women who share themselves with us openly. We're here to inspire and support women to freely talk about the important parts of their lives. There is no being perfect or scripts in this series. While you are warmly invited to listen in and contribute with your comments, we are not providing professional services or advice from this podcast or the guests. The conversation is for private, non-commercial use, and our guests do not necessarily reflect any organisations they work for. Now, please enjoy being part of real conversations that take us way beyond the small talk. Hi, Penny. Lovely to see you. Thanks for joining me here in Zoom land this morning.
Yeah, thanks, Frances. It's lovely. All this online stuff, it's a little bit funny to get used to, but you think we'd be used to it by now, but we're just not. Well, I'm not.
No, there's still something awkward about seeing yourself as well. And
yeah, I wish I could get rid of the picture of myself at the top and move it somewhere else so I don't have to see it at all.
I can't believe Zoom hasn't sorted that out yet.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe it's doing the cosmetics industry wonders or something.
Be a good research project, I think.
Could be.
Yeah. Have cosmetics gone up?
I bet there's lots of things that have gone up. There's some interesting. It's not just booze and cigarettes, I don't think, from boredom. Yeah.
No, I don't think so either.
Definitely online shopping for sure. Anyway, we're not here to talk about that this morning, are we? We're here to, mainly we're here for me to introduce another of my amazing, wonderful friends to the world. So thanks for agreeing to be in a conversation with me that's recorded for everyone.
That's all right.
Yeah, we were having coffee the other day and in person, so it's you can't really record that kind of stuff in a busy cafe, but that's exactly the conversations I reflect on and think, I reckon so many women would have, would resonate with the things we talk about. So
yeah, I think so too. Just it would be funny to do a voice recording of our conversations sometime, and just the way they jump around to different conversations in the time that we meet.
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. We all hear different things, don't we, in each other sharing, and it prompts something, and that's how it flows. But yeah. So no, thank you. It's great. Well, I guess to get related to you for the viewers, I'd love you just to share a bit about what's important to you.
Well, I think there's a lot, and it depends on which hat I'm wearing. Look, what's important to me, I am a mum of 2 teenage girls, which is a little bit scary, and I should be okay with this because, a background of youth work should prepare me for teenagers, but it doesn't. Your children are a completely different kettle of fish. So my family is very important to me. Creativity is very important to me, especially my own creative space, but sharing with others as well. So my job is I'm an art therapist and work in mental health. So exploring mental health through creativity and letting a part of us that's usually untapped out into the world to explore and process, I guess. So
look, where to go to with that question. You have so many things in common that I'm fascinated about, particularly the art therapy. How did you get from youth work to art therapy?
Well, it's a great story, and I plug one of my friends who's doing clinical psych at the moment. She's grown from being a young person that I worked with to being a really great friend. Her name's Emma, and we were driving on the way to a festival one day. So I used to work as a volunteer youth worker, and I was studying contemporary arts at the time. And she asked me what I was going to do with it, because, naturally the conversation that people have with you when you're doing an art degree, like a contemporary art degree, is, so what are you going to do for a job afterwards? And I'm like, look, I'm working on my mental health. I really just want to get through this. And because I'd had postnatal depression before that and was really struggling. And so a creative outlet for myself. I studied contemporary art and found it wonderful. Like the 3.5 years of study that I did while my kids were tiny was just the best outlet that I could have had in that time. And anyway, so she had struggled with eating disorders and stuff through her teenage adolescence. And she's like, oh, do you know what would be really great? And you'd be perfect at it. You'd be a wonderful art therapist. And I'm like, oh, what is that? Like, I'd never heard of it before.
Mm.
And so she explained it, but I went back and studied it and looked into it. And I remember reading the blurb about what an art therapist is and just thinking, oh my goodness, I think someone has written it for me. Just the marriage between working with people and helping them through the tough times in their life and having creativity paired onto that was like a match made in heaven, I think. So yeah, art therapy, it's profound, and the stuff that comes out of it is you can't put words to it. The way people move through it. Yeah,
amazing. Oh, isn't that funny that we don't even know that these jobs exist until we talk to people about them, and they just come up. And obviously that was a meant to be kind of conversation, wasn't it, for you?
Yes. Yep.
Profound moment.
Oh, it's amazing. And so from then on, I finished my art degree and worked towards doing a master's and studied that. And now I'm working in private practice. But, you know, that the journey to get to where I am has been extensive, but so worth it.
Yeah. And congratulations on starting the business and leaving the world of employment to be your own boss. How's all that going?
It's scary, but so good. I remember talking to you last year about this so we used to work together. You came in as a CEO at Laurel House, and I was very forward with you and said, I'm staying till the end of the year. And you're like, right, okay. I said, I'm intending to go into private practice and have my own business. And the CEO after that, I had the same conversation. And in our first sentence, I think, I said, please don't hold on to me because I'm not staying. She was like, oh, great. Thanks for your honesty. But yeah, private practice is more than I dreamt of, I think. The flexibility is wonderful, and being able to have my own hours and plus having a huge range of clients that I work with, from I say simple anxiety and depression. That's like it's not simple, but it has the light end, I guess, of my practice, and easy steps that we can put into place to combat anxiety and depression. And then I have NDIS clients that come through as autism and psychiatric patients, and then trauma as well. So yeah, trauma's my little nut that I want to work on, but I can't do trauma all the time because it's tough.
Yeah, for sure. Often talk with girlfriends about how we have these really intimate and juicy conversations with each other, but how not to be impacted. Like, you love someone, you care about them, they're telling you this story or something that's going on for them. And I always think, oh, I wish everyone had basic counselor training around how to, self-manage in those kind of situations. Like, you must have had to develop some amazing capacity for that.
Yeah. And you have to, like, part of our master's training was learning how to be present and be connected with someone, but not let their story impact you completely. Like, there's empathy, and you have to have empathy for the job, but you can't let it weigh on you and take it home. So a really great thing that one of my good friends who is a mentor for me, worked in education, she taught me active forgetting. And so something that I used to use when I was working in trauma all the time was, writing my case notes and then thinking, okay, I'm going to close it now and close it in my brain as well and shut it off. It's like a little bit of compartmentalizing, I guess. Whether this comes out as PTSD in 20 years, who knows, but I hope not.
Oh, we laugh, but oh dear, let's hope not. Who knows what the brain's going to do, right?
That's right. All these trauma victim stories are going to come out one day. But I think it's about having a good mental health practice for myself as well. So, there's used to work in sexual assault and hear it all the time. And having an outlet, so going for a run or a walk when I got home, having processes like wearing a particular necklace to work and taking it off when I get into the car, wearing a name tag, having those things where I take off that self and leave it somewhere, and then I can put on something that is just for home. So maybe my Birkenstock thongs are something that I put on when I come in the door. So that's me at home, and the person who I was at work and all the trauma that I've experienced that day or heard about that day gets left outside the house. It's a little bit tougher in private practice now that I do online stuff in my home, but most of my online clients are autistic and or have autism, and we work through communication skills and behavior management.
Yeah, okay. So you're not hearing trauma stories as much. It's what's happening for them now. Yeah, okay, I get that. They're great little tips. I'm glad I asked that question. Thank you. I always learn so much from you. I just managed to throw in questions about my son or my relationship.
I just want to, please, I want to pick your brain about this.
That's right. I'll help you with your business. Tell me what I'm doing wrong with my son.
Yeah. Look, we can, it's a mutual beneficial relationship we have, I think.
That's right. Absolutely. And lots of laughs, and our pet laughs. So it's all great. But
wonderful.
Jokes aside, we have talked a lot about children over the years, and I was telling you about my teenage son all of a sudden pushing back and telling me that I'm not the smartest cookie in the shed and all that good stuff. I remember you saying to me about how children, with the different developmental stages, things that I hadn't really considered and was taking it all so personally. I'm just really interested in that position with mums when kids start pushing back, because to me that's been the most shocking thing, because I've loved him to death for 13 years and all of a sudden it's pushing back. And you mentioned your teenage girls and not being prepared for it.
Yeah. So part of developmental stuff as kids go through is that pushing back, and we all experience it. I remember I've talked to so many parents, and they're like, you've just got to get through that 14 to 17-year-old stage where you hate your kids. And I'm like, do you hate your kids? I don't really think so, but depends on the kid, I guess. And I talked about, what's it called? So codependence. No, counterdependence, which is what the teenage section of neurodevelopment is called. So we go through dependence as little kids, and we see our kids are attached to us. Some are more attached than others. Some have anxiety problems. And then you go through, that takes you mostly up to teenagehood, when they are adult size nearly, and their brains they think they're adults and they think that they can make their own decisions. But, our brains aren't developed fully until we're about 25. So our prefrontal cortex doesn't have, especially in young people, that idea of consequence that happens. So, talking through with our kids about the consequences of something, they often don't understand it. They'll go, oh, yeah, I get it, Mom. Shut up. And you've heard it.
I've heard it, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Stop it, Mom, is what I get.
Counterdependence is that natural space where teenagers should be pushing back against us because they're learning to be their own person. What happens if I do this by myself and I don't tell Mum and Dad about it? But they usually, if we have the right kind of relationships or a healthy, honest relationship with our kids, then they will come and tell us eventually, but prying into their lives, unless it's something that you think is really detrimental to know, and they're really suffering, usually they'll come back to us and say, hey, this has been happening. Can I have some help with it?
Yeah, I get it. Thank you. There you go.
That's right.
Again, I think sometimes theory is really helpful to know it's not just you.
Yeah, well, it happens with everyone. And someone said something, if you've got a really placid toddler, then you're likely going to have a really hard teenager. But if you have if you have a hard toddler, then you have an easier teenager. I don't know if that's really true, but I think it's just all down to personality.
Yeah, maybe something about the development they need to go through to do that detachment part of it.
Yeah.
If they're already quite independent and whatnot, it might not be such a big pushback. Don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of, makes sense maybe, but
yeah. I remember one of my daughter's teachers when she was maybe 7 or 8, they're like, you're going to have a really breezy teenage, like adolescence with your daughter because she's pretty much already a teenager now. I'm like, I think it's just going to get worse.
And is that your experience?
Bits and pieces, that it goes through waves and you get little spurts of the adult that they're going to be. And I think, wow, what an amazing creature you are. And what you're turning into, like, you're going to be an incredible adult. And I keep saying that into my head, like, when I have hard days, you're going to be a great adult. When you get through this, you're going to be a great adult. Yeah.
Oh, and I'm sure she will be. And and we love them all the same, don't we? We just love them. But it's the knowing what to do, feeling like you're not equipped and all of that. So but it's great to know that even someone with as much training and experience as you is still kind of figuring it out.
It's parenthood is horrible. But great. Like, one of my good friends asked me once, she was deciding whether she would have kids or not. And she said, honestly, what is having kids like? And I think at that stage I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. And I said, it's like a rude slap in the face every single morning. And she's like, it can't be that bad. And I'm like, kinda. It's different things. Every stage are really hard, but I find it easier when they're less dependent on me being right there for them or holding them, because I love my personal space. So having to carry them around when they're crying all the time, yes, I can do it, but it's nice to be able to sit and play board games and help with homework. And even last night or the night before, sitting with my 12-year-old at the kitchen bench while she cried and stressed about not having the password to her maths online account and not having homework done on time. There's those little moments of supporting your kids when they need you, and then they can go off and be independent when they don't need you.
Yeah, no, that's beautiful. And I love that. I love that your friend asked that and she knew that you'd give her the truth, because that experience of people putting on that front that everything is okay and everything's perfect, and got to remember the prenatal classes that you go to, and then the get together when all the babies are born. And I just remember turning up thinking, oh my goodness, everyone's going to judge me. And then it's been great, and that can just go on through school. And
oh yeah, it's such that persona. And I was talking to my sister the other night about expectations we have as parents these days. So 50 years ago, where the women stayed at home and looked after the house and looked after the children, and lots of you'd be in the same boat. I needed to get back to work to have some sort of sanity and outside world. I went from being a 60 to 80 hour a week youth worker to being at home with a baby and thinking, what am I doing and what purpose does this have on the life? Like, I was impacting so many young people's lives for the better. And then I had this baby that screamed all the time and I couldn't work it out. And so I stayed at home with my kids. But these days we have to get back to work by the time our kids get to 5. What is it, like maybe 15 to 20 hours a week we're supposed to be working to get government subsidies through Centrelink. But we're supposed to have a job and do that well and have a family, and our kids are being brought up well, and then our home is supposed to be neat and tidy, and we're supposed to look after our husbands or our partners, or we're doing it on our own, and it's tough, and you're supposed to keep it all together and then turn up to school pickup and pretend that everything's fine. I think it's ridiculous.
It's laughable, right?
I think we laugh at it because it's uncomfortable, and the expectation is burdensome on us. And we put it, well, I try not to put it on other people, but we do, other mums, we turn up to school pickup from our jobs or something, and I stay in the car and I don't talk to anyone because I don't want to. And my kids go off at me when they turn up to the car and I've got my music blaring, because it's my de-stress from work. It's my switch off. So any mums who are watching this and hear my music in the car park, that's me de-stressing from work.
Not really ignoring you. It's not about you.
Don't judge me, please.
No.
But it's those, we're expected to do everything and more. And us mums who have careers as well and things that are important to us, I think you're on the same boat as me. We really love to help people and share our experience with other people and help people do better in life. And that's, you asked me what was important to me in my job and my career. That's important to me, and my experience of being a mum and sharing that with other people is important to me, because I struggled so much, and having postnatal depression and early onset menopause, which is pre-40. We talked about this last time. Going through menopause as a 36-year-old is ridiculous. And we still have to keep it together. But sharing these experiences and helping other women know that they're not alone in it is really important.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, that's what I'm all about too, and I just love that. Yeah, you're someone in my life that I know I can have those real conversations with. This is a plug for your art therapy as well, of course, or people can just ring you up for coffee. But I think those conversations are so important. Like, I just think of my life when I was too busy for it all. And I didn't know what I was doing. When you were talking about the developmental age of being 25, I got married the first time when I was 19.
Yeah.
So, no wonder I was all over the shop, and I was just so busy being in career and, really driven to do all of that. And I didn't have women around me sharing what was going on. And no one was kind of saying, hang on a minute, just,
just pull back a little bit.
Giving
it's okay.
me any of that. And I really love that in our generation that we're starting to talk about this, because we do have the next generation of teenagers at this stage, and what difference that can make.
And life is going to be so different for them anyway. Growing up with a full online presence as teenagers, I can't even understand what it's like for them. I am scared for my girls as they grow. They don't have social media yet, and I've said openly, talk to me when you want it. Let's have the conversation. I'm not saying no, but then I say in the same sentence, if you don't want social media and your friends are pressuring you to get it, by all means, blame it on me and tell them that your mum won't let you. Just, I'm happy to be the blame. My mum's too strict and she won't let me have it. Rather than owning it to themselves. And I guess one day they will own it themselves and say, this is what I've chosen for my life, and I really love it.
And in all of that world of it, you and I met through working at the sexual assault support services. And we got into the world of a project with, you'd been doing work around educating people in high schools and even the youth detention facility, for goodness sake, really getting to people who needed to hear messaging. And that's all fabulous. And in Australia, we've now got part of it coming to the curriculum, which is amazing. There's been so much lobbying.
Fantastic.
Last year. But the other space that we started to talk about was what parents needed to know.
And I think I filter through my brain as I sit and pause what's most important for parents to know in bringing up young people. And I think I have conversations like this with lots of my clients' parents or clients that are parents of kids. We need to have the tough conversations. And it's a little bit of Brene Brown's mantra in my head, because I don't worship the ground she walks on, because I haven't read all her books, but there's a few things that I really value about her teachings, and the things that she talks about is that having the tough conversations are really important with our kids, and doing it from a young age. So I think stories are the best way to transfer information and experience. And so sitting in the backyard with my girls one afternoon, I think they were maybe 4 and 6, and the man next door was mowing the lawn, and they wanted to climb the fence and go over and see him. And I said, that's probably not a great idea. We don't know him. I'm sure he's a wonderful man, but we need to be cautious of that, because some people aren't safe. And just having the little conversations, and that conversation moved into, I think one of my girls asked me how a baby's made and what happens in all of that. And me being a very open and honest mum, and I wanted to have that conversation with them early on, so it wasn't so awkward when they got older. You don't want to have the sex talk and when they're starting to date, or when you think that they should be dating, because it's earlier than you think. And so having the tough conversations with your kids early on is really important. Being aware that online pornography is a big thing, and access to it it's inevitable that our kids will come across pornography online. And the average age of a young person seeing it is, I think, 10 or 11 now. And it, you know, you have to tackle it when you hear about it or before it happens. So, you know, even though my 14-year-old will block her ears when I talk to her about it, I say, you know, and we have lots of other people in our lives that talk about it as well. So she was playing on Roblox one day, and so Roblox it's a free for all. Everyone's on there online, can message you whenever they want. And if you're not monitoring it with your kids, then anyone can have access to them. And so she was sitting next to us in the kitchen, and and I was looking at what was happening on the chat, and someone posted, oh, great fresh meat or something like that. And I was like, what the actual, I don't know if I can swear on this, but I think I swore out loud, and I'm like, get off. And that was it. So she doesn't play with Roblox anymore because I was just like, oh my goodness. Like, people are so blatantly overt with their presence online, and I couldn't believe it. And so we had that whole conversation of pedophiles and predators online, and how we have moved from predators being out in the world and hiding behind bushes, like what we're all taught, to being, you know, 80% of them are online and will catfish through other young people, through people that they know at school, through, you know, any means that they can, and will manipulate our kids. But I don't want to be so cautious with them online that it's that they can't do anything. And I know that lots of parents are in that boat. You know, there's all this scary stuff online, and I talk about it like, imagine, I say to my kids, imagine I drop you off in the middle of Sydney CBD, but you're invisible, but you can go wherever you want and see whatever you want. That is the internet. You can go, and no one's going to see you. No one's going to know you're there. And no one's going to touch you or anything like that. But you can access whatever you want. Would you like me to do that for you? And they say, no. I'm like, right, that's the internet. That is YouTube. That is everything in the world. So at least educating ourselves and our kids about online access, and they get a lot of it at school these days as well, is really important.
Yeah, no, that's really valuable. And the not wanting to know about it, the not wanting to think about it, those days are gone. We can't just say don't talk to strangers and let it go, because it's, as you say, it's so easy, and kids don't necessarily want to talk to you about it. So it's throwing in those comments where you can. I have a son, not daughters, but it's a different world with the mum trying to talk to the son, and so I'm kind of constantly prompting his father, saying, have you talked about this? And I know he's not, he does his best, but he's had a certain level of education around how to talk about that. So every parent's struggling with the how to make it work, because you've got, your husband would have input into that in terms of being a male role model. And and
it's all language around how do we treat each other and how do we want to be treated, and that's how we treat other people in our lives. So look, if you want to, I don't know, be gawked at in the middle of the street, like you can say this to boys and flip the tables, but I think there's that whole argument. I worked at a school last year, and the boys were coming under attack, and it was all these parents coming in saying, protect our boys and they're innocent. And I said, but have they actually been educated in the way that they need to be? And yes, girls need that too, because I'm working with more and more men that are being emotionally abused by the women in their life. And it astounds me that it's so prevalent, but no one talks about it. And I think the conversations around sexual assault and abuse and the way that this impacts everyone's lives needs to be talked about more, because so much of the focus, and it should be, and it has been that the control of men over women, and it has that natural dominance anyway, because men are stronger and bigger, and history has us, the men are the hunters and the women are the gatherers, in the caveman days. So up for technology, for all the terminology. But it is that, they naturally go out and hunt because they've got bigger muscles, they're taller, they're stronger. And then the women will nurture and look after the kids until they're ready to go on their way. But what was I thinking? Like, we need to protect each other, I think, is the main crux of what I want to get to, is that we're all vulnerable and we're all at risk of some sort of abuse. And it's the education around warning signs and healthy relationships and consent. Even, consent is not just sexual consent. It is consent in holding hands, in touching, in, can I come into your room, or am I allowed into your house, or do you want to go for a coffee? Do you actually want to be friends with each other? It's that whole, it's ongoing consent. And if we can teach that to our kids as they grow, and it be a normal conversation, and I think that's really important.
Yeah. Oh, indeed. And the conversations for men and boys are a whole nother realm of it. I get that. But what I'm seeing in what you're saying is women also have that, there's something going on over here. If there are women who are perpetrating abuse, yes, the men need support, but the women need support too, because something is triggering that in them, and that their way of being in responding to that man.
And possibly it's built out of insecurity, or who knows what's gone on in their life before that point. There's some great training with Shark Cage and Love Bites, and Laurel House have some great training now. I'll give that a plug because my friend and I wrote it.
I love it. And it's amazing. So the resources and services are certainly moving ahead with what is available. And I think we've seen here in Tasmania, the state government are giving more and more funding and have particular ministers and departments attached to those issues, including family violence. But there's always so much more to do. It's
it is. There's gaps in everything. But I think we as people, if we educate ourselves, we can help the generations that are coming through be the best that they could possibly be.
Oh, beautiful sentiment. I should end it there, because I know I could talk to you all day as usual, but I need to let you get on as well. So thank you so much. And I'm going to invite you back in a few. We'll get a series or two in, and then we can continue on. We didn't even get into half the other topics we do talk about. So thank you. Thanks so much.
More than welcome.
And I'll
been a pleasure.
Oh, good. We'll put links and things to the details of the work that you're up to and the organisations that we mentioned here, so people can follow things through if they would like to.
Perfect.
Okay. Thanks, Penny.
Thanks, Frances.
Big thank you to everyone who's joined us and our wonderful guests for being part of a bigger conversation for women. Please make sure that you subscribe to the channel so you can stay on top of all of the episodes as we release them each week. And of course, there's a back catalogue there for you to enjoy whenever you have a chance. Please check out the show notes for more details and contacts. Follow us on social media and see what our fabulous guests are up to. Thank you again. Take care.